Iron Fist Episode 8, The Blessing of Many Fractures. This episode had some interesting stuff to it. We actually got to see a somewhat interesting battle. Like I said, it's always a real back and forth in this show as far as what fights are cool, what fights are dumb, and then even the cool fights kind of make no sense when you go backwards, and it's like, well, how did he fly through fighting four people and now he's having trouble with one person? Although in this case I think it was a little different considering he fought like a drunken master, which was actually pretty awesome to see that, so I thought that was cool. But this episode did some interesting stuff after the characters from the last episode started to get some interesting bits of information. Danny and Colleen decide that they're gonna take the battle to the hand. Joy and Ward as well as Danny are all outed from the company. So we see the next step. Danny still doesn't know that he's been kicked out of his family's company because he's off doing his own thing. So he, Colleen, and Claire go to China, which, like I said, I didn't think they'd actually do that, but they did. They were on the plane and they have the scene where there's turbulence and stuff, and they kind of have a bit of a moral conversation where it's like, I know you're kind of programmed to, she of course didn't say that, but Claire's like, I know this is kind of your mission is to kill the hand, like you have to destroy them, but killing is wrong no matter what. She's kind of doing the hero thing where it's like, we're heroes so we don't kill people and all that stuff. And so they go through that, and then we hit turbulence, and so we have Danny kind of go through his memories again, because in order for him to find some way to get through them going through some turbulence, Claire has him express his feelings, like, how are you feeling, what are you thinking about, tell us, basically everything that happened. So he goes through that. We get like a little glimpse of something extra in this episode, and that's the pilots. And we see that they have like all these veins on their faces and stuff. And when that first happened, I was like, well, what's with the veins? That doesn't make any sense. That's really weird. So of course all that ends up coming together because we go through, they get to China, they end up getting to this factory, they get some information, all the people leave. So Danny and Colleen go in. Colleen has, once again, a pretty cool fight. So she had actually a sword fight, which I thought was interesting. So she has a little sword fight. Danny ends up fighting the drunken master dude after Madame Gao shows up. And then Danny, Colleen, and Claire end up fighting these two big guys, which didn't last too long. It only lasted for like a couple seconds. But we find out that they had poison-laced weapons. And so when the guy has, like, the veins come up, I guess. I missed it. They showed it so fast. I was like, I didn't even see the veins because I looked down for half a second and then looked up. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the guy laying down. As soon as I looked up to like actually look at it, it went back to Danny. But I'm assuming the veins were showing, and then he has the flashback, and it's like, oh, that makes sense why we find, like, this is the first time we got to actually see the pilots, and they have like the veins on their faces. Because I'm like, that wouldn't happen just because they like fell in some snow. Their brains aren't gonna like freeze and explode or something. So he realizes that Madame Gao truly was the one that killed Danny's parents, because something was going on. Maybe, like Danny mentioned, maybe my dad was onto her, and that's why we were going to that city. So the pilots end up being poisoned, and so of course the plane crashes, and that's kind of what led to Danny having the life that he had. And this whole episode, well, not the whole episode, it's really like the last 10 minutes, I feel, after he beat the drunken master guy who's kind of taunting him about not really fulfilling his destiny and not being as loyal as, one would think he should be as the Iron Fist. So he kind of loses it on that guy, and he's beating the crap out of him. But he's able to control it at the end, where he kind of snaps, but he, blows the door open behind Madame Gao, and then he takes her away. Which I was surprised she even let that happen, but I feel like there's some other extra plan to it, because I'm like, she, last time they were together, she just flicked him away with magic. So I'm like, especially with her being an older character, it's hard to say how that really affects her, because they make it seem like she's hundreds of years old, which I'm assuming she is, or at least 100 years old. So it was just interesting how it was like, the last time she was just like, get away from me, and she flicked him back into the wall, and she decides, like, oh, he punched the wall behind me. She still could have just like, whatever. Like, if she wanted him dead, she could have killed him, because I'm sure she could, make the little weapons float and just cut each of the characters once, and then it's like, boom, they're poisoned, no big deal, I win, my villain, my enemies are defeated now. But she got captured, and I'm like, I just feel like she let herself be captured. So we'll see what happens there. It could just be not so great writing, considering they put in the fact that she has full on like telekinesis pretty much. So we'll see how that plays out, and I would assume she would have enough energy to do it again at least once, if that's what she wanted to do after, the couple of days it took for them to meet up. So I don't know. We'll see what happens in this next episode. But the other side of things were dealing with, of course, the business again, and Joy and Ward and their, determination to either get away from the company finally, in Ward's case, or to get back the company in Joy's case. And so they have this back and forth with each other where there's a single deal for the both of them, and they each get the $100 million as a severance package. And Ward wants it. Like, he wants to just get out. And it's like, my dad is dead. I got rid of him. He lies to Danny, and, he kind of just calls him an idiot and makes him think it's his fault and stuff with the hand. So he's gotten rid of, no one's suspicious of him. Obviously Joy doesn't know what, took place. He got rid of his dad. He's able to just move on. He doesn't have his dad watching him or anything like that. He's able to just take off, and he's out of there. So he's like, sweet, I'm gone. I'm ready to go. Like, all this manipulation, I am tired of it. But Joy wants to run the company. She wants to be a part of what she has been, basically, her entire life. Even though they were forced into it because their dad was such an a-hole. It was like, you don't get anything if you don't run the business. So I actually enjoyed that. Like I said, Ward, I think, is really my favorite character story-wise, and what they do with him, and just the emotional turmoil that he's going through, where it's like, I don't want this crap. Like, he was even trying to, split his deal up from his sister, which honestly, I think she was, in the wrong compared to him. Like, she was upset about him trying to split deals, and I'm like, who gives enough? Like, that doesn't actually affect her. This is his life, and she canceled, all this stuff with the money. And I was like, she can't really be mad at a guy who wanted to do his own thing, and even separated, where it's like, hey, if I separate it, I take way less money and all this stuff, but you still get a choice. You get the opportunity to fight if that's what you want. And if you decide you want to join me and just leave the company, you can. But, he was trying to separate it for himself and just be free. And she was kind of just speaking for the both of them. So I was like, I'm kind of on Ward's side. Not even from the perspective of, it's because he's so tortured. It's just the fact that that would have allowed them both to do whatever they wanted. And she kind of was like, nope, we're both going to do this. And I was like, I don't really like her for that, like, making this decision for him. Because, of course, when he came to her, it was like, you decided to go against the agreement without even talking to me. She was upset that he went to Lawrence, and I'm like, she can't be mad. Like, it's just two totally different things when she makes a decision that affects both of them. And, I mean, technically both their decisions would affect both of them, but for him to be able to just, like, live his life, totally different to be able to choose himself and still let her have that opportunity compared to her just being like, we both do the same thing. It's like, it sucks for Ward. So her decision is to basically blackmail everyone, which I don't see how that's going to work out too well. But, that's her decision. She has all this extra stuff, which, cool reference to Jessica Jones. She was like, I hired a PI who's pretty good when she's sober. So, of course, that was Jessica. But she's had this information kind of building up for a while now. And she's got all this blackmail on everybody. And that's her way back in. There's no legal loopholes or anything like that. It's basically just illegal blackmail. Like, this is what we're going to do, and if you don't want this shared, we get our spots back in the company. So I doubt that's going to play out too well for them. Depending on what happens and how fast they go about this, and when Danny gets back, he'll probably try to convince her not to do it because it's bad, and then we'll see how that affects their relationship, because I don't know, it's hard to say how he's going to feel about it, because all he wanted was to work where his father worked. Like, he wanted to, basically what Ward had, Danny wants, just not in the manipulative way. So it'll be interesting to see how he feels when he gets back, and it's like, man, I was dealing with this Madame Gao stuff, and then everything that I was basically raised to do by the monks is what caused me to lose the last part of my family that I had. So I'm very curious if that's going to be entertaining to watch, because I feel like that's something that could be really good, just one of those good moments in the season. So I'm hoping that it's good in this next episode. I'm assuming they'll get back to the States in the next episode. So I don't know exactly where it's headed, but Joy wants to kind of go hardcore against the board members, and I just don't think that's going to play out too well for them. Madame Gao has seemingly been captured, unless she did that on purpose. And like I said, considering her power, I kind of feel like she did that on purpose. So we'll see what happens, because Danny doesn't have a plan, so I don't really have any guesses as to where it can go. He didn't kill her, so it's not revenge. And I mean, I guess he could ask her what their plan is outside of the heroin thing. So I don't really know. I mean, it's like he got her. I don't force her to start production is the only thing I can really think as far as where it's headed. He doesn't really want revenge. He's able to control that side of him. So I can't really guess as to where we're headed with this. But I thought it was an okay episode. I actually didn't, I didn't hate it, but I didn't really love it either. It was just like, it was an okay episode. There's certainly other episodes where I actually really enjoyed them. This one, it was just okay. There's certainly cool scenes in it. Like Colleen's fight I thought was cool. Danny fighting the Drunken Master guy I actually thought was a fairly decent fight. It wasn't super epic or anything like that, especially for the guy doing like Drunken Master. There's some things that I've seen before, other people have done it. And it just was like, I wish he kind of just did some cooler moves, but, just the action just isn't as good in this show. So I kind of just, I've kind of become real neutral on the combat where it's just like, if it's good, it's good. I don't expect it to really be that great. I don't really expect it to be that good, if I'm being totally honest. At this point, I'm just like, if a cool fight shows up, then that's cool. This was a decent one. Colleen fighting the woman I thought was decent. Although there was one thing that I thought was weird is when she lost her katana, and so she's dodging and stuff, and then Claire like bursts through the gate. They skip a sequence where Colleen like dodges and stuff, and she gets her blade back, and it's like, Claire bursts through the door in the van, and then it cuts back to the fight, and Colleen has the blade and is like block, and she hits the woman with the hilt, and the battle's over. And I was like, well, how'd she get her blade? Was she dodging? Did she do a flip? Like, I felt like that was a big part of the battle. When someone loses their weapon, you don't skip over them getting it back. It's like that, her weapon got knocked away from her. You show that part. Like, she's dodging and stuff, and she's surviving. Maybe she, like, countered the woman, and she kicked her to the ground, and then she ran and got her blade, and then they went back to fighting. And it cuts from her doing a couple dodges to this car bursting in, and then it cuts back, it's like, boom, fight's over. And I was like, that's an important part when someone loses their weapon, and that's how they're fighting. You have to show all of that. You can't just, like, they lose the weapon, here's a little bit, skip, and then you come back at the very end. And it was literally like, Claire, burst through the door, and then it cuts back to Colleen, and it was literally like, bing, bing, and then she just hit the woman in the head. And I was like, what? Like, they just cut and then came back to literally the last 3 hits of the battle. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. How do you skip over the part where she gets her weapon back and finishes the fight? And I was just like, that didn't make any sense to cut that part out to me. So that bugged me a little bit during that, because they show like the rest of the fight. They pretty much show the whole thing, and then what I felt was the most important part, which is her surviving to the point of getting her weapon back to finish. You skip right over that, and it's like they just didn't have a way that she could logically do it. And it's like, I don't know, just throw Claire driving through the door, and then we skip to the end, and Colleen wins. Yeah, we're done. And I was like, all right, whatever. That just really bugged me, because they skipped such an important part of the fight, and then it's just over. And I was like, wow, they just skipped like a very important section of her surviving without her weapon. They showed, like I said, they showed it a little bit after it first happened, but then you cut to a car, and then you cut back to the fight, and it's literally the end of the fight where they cut back to it, and it was literally 5 seconds left in the fight. And I'm like, what was the point of even having a cut? Like, just have the fight end, and then the car comes in. Like, there's no reason to have 5 seconds after you cut and then cut back to have 5 seconds of the battle as that ending piece, and then it's just done. I'm like, what was the point of even cutting away from that if you're going to come back to 5 seconds worth of combat? It was just like, that made no sense to me. So that really bugged me about the fight. But otherwise, I thought it was a decent fight. It was just kind of like a cool, it wasn't exactly samurai battle, because Colleen was Japanese, Colleen was Chinese, but cool sword fight, a little bit of wire work in there, it seemed. So I enjoyed that for sure. I was like, that's a decent fight to watch. Like I said, Danny fighting the Drunken Master guy wasn't too bad. It was just, some hand-to-hand stuff. The guy's movements were cool, because they were, Drunken Master movements. But other than that, it was just kind of, okay. Danny was getting beat up a little, and then he reversed it at the end. It's kind of, like, really iffy. And that's one of the other things when he fights someone that's actually strong like him. It's real iffy, because it never seems to be a balance. It's like he gets beat up in the beginning all the time, and then he gets taunted enough, and it's like that anime style where he's taunted enough, or the random person says like, you can do it, and then he flips the script, and then poof, he's destroying this guy, because he was getting beat up the whole way through as the guy's taunting him, and then he got mad, and then he beat him up, and that was it. He didn't take another hit after that. And I'm like, they just do like half and half. There's no back and forth. It's just he got beat up in the front, and then the back end of the battle, he was beating the other person up, and then it's over. I'm like, there's no good back and forth there. He was getting beat up the whole time, and then he reversed it, and he beat the guy up the rest of the time. I was like, that's not really good pacing for the combat when it's like that. So that was another thing that kind of bugged me during their fight. And otherwise, it just wasn't that epic anyway. Like, there were a lot of far shots and stuff, and it was like, oh, I understand now why he was... Well, really, I understand why they had him wear the hood up like that, so that they could easily put in the stunt double and make sense. But yeah, a fairly decent episode, not much to it. I am excited to see where they go, because I do want to see what happens when Danny comes back, and now that they have Madame Gao, what's going to happen, like with the hand coming in to attack them and stuff like that. So I am looking forward to the next episode, but it doesn't really mean things are going to be super epic. We're getting closer and closer to the end, so I am curious as to how things are going to play out for these last couple episodes. Like, I'm curious if all the characters are going to survive. Mostly Ward. I'm like, is he going to live? Because he's going so crazy. Like, he got so close to telling Joy everything that happened, and then he just starts seeing blood come out of the elevator and stuff, so he's losing his mind. So I don't really know what to expect as far as those two characters and like where that's headed. But I don't think Madame Gao is going to die, because I'm pretty sure the defenders do end up fighting the hand. I could be wrong about that, but excuse me. But I believe that's where they're headed. I don't know if like they're really going to defeat the hand in this series or anything like that. Especially if you've seen Daredevil, you know how that played out. So I'm pretty sure that's who the defenders are going up against. And that makes sense that this giant group of like super ninjas, that makes sense. 4 superheroes need to take them on. So I'm pretty sure that's where we're headed for the defenders. I don't know that for sure, so that's just me guessing. But I don't see them, even if they beat Madame Gao, I don't know exactly what that would accomplish as far as fighting the hand and stopping the production of the heroin and all that stuff anyway. So it's just really crazy. I'm like, I don't really know where we're headed. Like, Harold just got killed off, so he never got to really do anything. And I didn't expect much from him anyway, so when he died, I was like, that makes sense, because there wasn't much, I personally felt there wasn't that much from his character outside of knowing exactly what the deal was between him and the hand, which Madame Gao could easily give us that answer, so we didn't need Harold for that. So aside from, him using Danny to get rid of the hand so that he could go out in the public again, that was it. That's all his character was for me. And then, the manipulation of Ward and building that character up and driving him crazy. So when Harold died, it was like, that makes sense, because it was for Ward. And then as far as the big question I had as to what exactly was their deal, Madame Gao can answer that, so we didn't need him. Joy and Ward, I don't know if we really need either, so I'm not sure how that's going to play out, if they're going to get attacked or... they seem fairly separated, because... Madame Gao knew exactly what was going on, but she didn't give a crap about Ward or Joy. It's like, okay, they're doing their company thing. I don't care, that's fine. But Colleen and Claire are like Danny's actual friends, so those are the ones we're going to, threaten. But they didn't give a crap about, Joy and Ward, so it's like they're off doing their own thing a little bit, so it's hard to say how things are going to really come together by the end. But I do want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts. I definitely want to know where you guys think they're headed with Madame Gao. Like, what in the world could they possibly do now that they've caught her? I would assume even if she said to stop producing the heroin, considering it's the hand, they'll just send somebody else in and be like, no, we're not going to do that. She can die. We don't really care. So that's my guess for it. But also, Madame Gao, I don't think is going to die in this, just because she's an awesome character. And they've still only touched the surface of the cool things that she can do. So I'm pretty sure she's fine. If I'm being totally honest, I think she'll live on to be possibly in the Defenders. I didn't really consider that she might be the face of the hand again, but that might be what happens. So I don't know. That's kind of my theory on it. I personally think she'll survive. Somehow she'll end up escaping. But we'd love to know your theories on how things are going to play out now that they've captured her. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.